The global elite are panicking as the World Economic Forum faces collapse. That's not mere wishful thinking. Even the liberal New York Times is admitting it. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and we're going to explore 3 reasons why the demons at Davos are disappearing and the global elite are scrambling. You're not going to want to miss this. Since its founding in 1971, the World Economic Forum has been known for its controversial agenda, which recently climaxed in the now infamous Great Reset. And yet something rather noticeable, indeed frankly humiliating, happened at their last meeting in Davos in January of this year. The world began to noticeably turn on them. Elon Musk referred to the WEF gathering as, in his words, satanic. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Canada's Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre openly excoriated the meeting. Public intellectual Jordan Peterson blasted Davos as nothing short of, again, in his words, apocalyptic. In fact, the public pressure was so intense that there was virtually no reference whatsoever to their Great Reset project this last January. The gathering, frankly, was an optics disaster, with images of billionaire elite quaffing champagne in a luxurious Swiss resort, all the while most Europeans were suffering in the midst of a cost of living crisis. That optics fail alone explains why so many world leaders opted not to attend Davos. But something far deeper is happening than mere optics. Even the New York Times is recognizing the world is changing in a way that threatens to bring an end to the very existence of the WEF itself. According to the New York Times, the WEF is losing its relevance. It's losing its influence, its power to direct and dictate political and economic life around the world, and there appears little the demons in Davos can do to stop it. First and foremost, more and more pundits are recognizing that we're seeing nothing less than the rise of a new worldwide political order in our midst, one that's inherently hostile to the goals of the WEF. China's fast rising as a major world power. Russia has actively decoupled itself from the West, creating its own parallel world, what scholars are increasingly calling a civilization state. Indeed, both Russia and China are actively engaged in reawakening their ancient imperial civilizational spheres together in such a way that's in turn reawakening a multipolar world. And this multipolar world is reconfiguring around a new economic center known as BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the 5 foundational nations that have formed a new and powerful economic bloc. Since its formation in the 2000s, the economic bloc has grown exponentially, with dozens of countries seeking to join. Nations such as Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, Algeria, Argentina, Mexico, and Nigeria, they're all lining up and applying for membership. And as a result, this new economic bloc is providing the global platform for new bilateral trade agreements and financial activities that deliberately bypass the WEF's vision of the world order.
I'll be back.
That's right. He'll be back and will be back, gang. It's time to celebrate the great return by clicking on that link below and getting your very own Trumpinator 2024 bobblehead in preparation for Donald Trump's glorious reascendance to the United States presidency. Gang, I've got mine. I love it. It is so awesome. This collectible bobblehead from Proud Patriots is made with the highest quality material and really is a must-have for any Trump fan who wants to send some energy towards what is shaping up to be the most glorious political comeback ever. Don't wait, gang. There are just a limited number of these collectibles, and you don't want to be caught paying way more later on eBay from somebody who bought one now. So whatever you do, don't wait. Click on that link below right now and show your support for Trump 2024 today. The second factor leading up to the WEF's demise is the widely acknowledged disaster of the COVID lockdowns. Even avowed liberals like Bill Maher and Piers Morgan have admitted that the government's COVID response was reprehensible, with disastrous social effects that will continue with us for years. We now know, thanks to the Twitter files, that the Biden administration, along with deep state agencies like the FBI and CDC and Twitter, deliberately worked together to censor so-called anti-vaxxer accounts. And we now know, based on internal emails that have been made available to the public, that Anthony Fauci actively sought to silence and discredit and shut down the so-called Barrington Proposal, which was a declaration signed by a number of notable scientists in the States and Britain calling for an end to the lockdowns. Instead of the Barrington Proposal, Fauci and others deliberately implemented a national lockdown modeled after China's draconian response. And as a result of that now widely recognized disaster, the social credit system that the WEF wants to implement throughout the West to comply with its ESG guidelines is increasingly being met with staunch resistance, most especially from the likes of public intellectuals like Jordan Peterson. But it's not just the West. Think of Sri Lanka. I mean, a couple of years back, their new president dove headfirst into the WEF and imposed a radical green policy on their nation. Leaders wanted Sri Lanka to be the world's first 100% organic country. They banned any kind of chemical in their fertilizer. They implemented all kinds of green-inspired lockdowns, restrictions in their food production. And it didn't take long for the obvious result to become clear. Their food production collapsed, and the nation descended to the brink of starvation and political chaos. And the world increasingly wants little to do with the radically restrictive and tyrannical policies of the demons at Davos. The third factor leading to the WEF's demise is the loss in confidence in central banks. The WEF and central banks are currently collaborating on instituting digital currencies as part of the WEF's platform of collaboration between central banks, policymakers, and stakeholders. And again, like we saw in Sri Lanka, confidence in central banks is eroding literally everywhere within the WEF sphere of influence, significantly hampering that influence. The rise in inflation, along with the related current banking crisis, are both contributing to what scholars call a crisis of legitimacy, where populations increasingly no longer trust the central banks and their centralized cooperative platforms like the WEF. In other words, whether it's a new multipolar world, a disastrous COVID lockdown, or an ongoing financial and cost of living crisis via the central banks, the world is officially turning away from the demons in Davos. And none other than Klaus Schwab himself admitted this. Back in 2017, shortly after Trump won the presidency and the Brexit referendum was passed to leave the EU, Schwab admitted that the globalist world order, the liberal international order that the WEF helped orchestrate and manage, was completely unraveling. He has since been warning his fellow globalists that they're going to have to reimagine globalization in such a way that will be more palatable for a far more nationalist, populist, and civilizationalist world. But given those civilizationalist and nationalist and economic trends, it looks increasingly likely that the rise of this new world will find little room for the likes of the WEF at all. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on the bombshell testimony coming out of the Kari Lake election trial. It's going to absolutely make your day. So make sure to click on the link and I'll see you over there. God bless. Hey gang, if you want to connect with more courageous patriots and start taking action and organizing, be sure to join my Telegram group. I post the latest breaking news I find interesting and chat with my favorite patriots around the country and even the world. Click the link in the description below and join the conversation today.